Have you ever wondered how much all the sources you reference in your articles and books cost? How much money you would actually have to pay to get them if you were not using a university library? You may guess that this is going to be a big sum, and you're absolutely right. But how much exactly would it be? $1,000, $2,000, $10,000? If you want to find out, continue watching. And please don't forget to hit the subscribe and like buttons. It really helps the channel. When I was a graduate student at Berkeley, I got a side job working for a lawyer who was writing a book on Chinese law. And I was supposed to read and paraphrase some Chinese articles for him. That was my job. So it was basically research. I was pre-digesting primary sources for him so he could read them in an easy and accessible way. And at one point, I asked him whether he was using the university's library. And he said that he did not need to because he was relatively fortunate to be financially quite secure, so he could just buy the books that he needed. And this way, he did not ever need to go to the library. And I remember at that time, I thought, wow, okay, well, I guess you can do research this way too. I was young, working towards my degree, and he was already quite established, so I did not really question his statement. I was just simply surprised. Still, over the years, the memory of this comment kept coming up in my mind, and I kept thinking about it. And with time, I became quite suspicious whether it was possible to buy all the books we needed and never set foot in the university library. I am personally a library junkie, and I'm severely biased here. But my opinion is still an opinion and is as valid as that of the next person. To be honest, I always thought that I would never be able to afford to buy all the books and articles I cite in my own publications. And this becomes especially obvious when I'm looking at some old and dusty volumes that cannot be borrowed from the library, and I have to access them in the rare books reading room. And I have always been sure that these would have dramatically increased the cost. But this was always a guess, and I have never taken the time to actually sit down and work out what the items referenced in my own writings would amount to. And for the sake of this video, I decided to calculate this. Taking as an example my latest book, which was Dunhuang Manuscript Culture, End of the First Millennium, published in 2020 by the German academic press, De Gruyter. In the bibliography, I have a total of 579 items. Of these, 156 are books, and the rest, that is 423 items, are articles or chapters in edited volumes. These days, you can buy most of the articles online for about $20–$30 a piece. But the books are different. You would need to hunt them down individually. Still, we can assume that none of them would be cheaper than about $30–$40. And quite a few of them would be more expensive, so perhaps we could calculate an average price of $60 per book, because these are mostly academic books rather than cheap paperbacks. And so this would mean $9,360 for the books alone, and at $30 an item, $12,690 for the articles, which brings us to a total of $22,050 for the whole book. But this figure is based on a guessed estimate, and some of the books would be considerably more expensive. For my calculations, I'm using the second-hand book site Abe Books or ABE Books, which is a pretty solid site for tracking down less common books, but of course also the common ones. For example, Roderick Whitfield's 3-volume masterpiece, The Art of Central Asia, is a definite rarity. It is a gorgeous book, but very expensive. The lowest price I can find for the 3 volumes is £1,947, which is about $2,400. Oral Stein's Ancient Khotan from 1907 is out of print and even more expensive. There are cheap reprints, some of which sell for about $150, but the original edition, which I'm supposed to consult, is not for sale at the moment at all. Another of Oral Stein's books is his 5-volume detailed archaeological report called Serindia, which he published in 1921. And I have recently been able to buy a very good reprint for about $500, with which I'm very happy. But the original, which I'm supposed to consult, is currently on offer for £17,500, which is $21,300. But even modern academic books can be quite expensive. For example, Rong Xingjiang's 18 Lectures on Dunhuang, for which I happen to have been the translator, is being offered at £213 on the lower end, which is $260. Or take Dohi Yoshikazu's Dictionary of Personal Names from Dunhuang, which is for sale at 30,000 Japanese yen, which is about $222. And it also has a supplementary index volume, which is also referenced in my book, at about $122. And then I would have to pay about $50 for shipping, possibly for each volume separately. So we're looking at almost $400 for the two volumes. In light of these calculations, it is easy to see that our estimated total of $22,050 would need to be adjusted for such books. And I guess that even if we were using facsimile reprint editions, we would still need to add at least another $10,000, which would bring our total up to about $32,000. Perhaps we would be able to bring this number down a little bit by being able to consult PDF versions for some of these volumes. But these are often not real copies, and you almost never know whether these are accurate renditions of the original volumes. So ideally, you would need to consult the original. So after all these calculations, I think we can estimate that had I been absolutely unwilling to use the university library, I would have needed to spend about $30,000 to get all the books and articles I needed for researching my own book. And this number, of course, does not include the sources I had looked at but did not reference, because you have to admit that you may need to look at many other books and articles which eventually do not make it into your bibliography. And the other thing is that I would have certainly not been able to get everything. So some of the volumes and some of the articles are not for sale, or not for sale at a particular moment, and so I wouldn't be able to buy them. And there would have been logistical problems with ordering all the books, paying for them, and getting them shipped, and some of them would not have been delivered, and I would have had to track them, and so forth. And although when researching my next book, I would continue to be using many of the same articles and books, I would be faced with the gigantic problem of having to store all this material in my home or in my office. It would add further costs, and it would be a major problem for everyone around me, including me. So there you have it. This is how much the books and articles cost for writing an academic book. $30,000. Of course, my book is on a pre-modern topic, and a modern study on an internet-based topic may require much fewer books, especially antique ones, because most of the sources are in the internet or in digital form. But as it happens, my research is on a pre-modern topic, and so this is how much it would have cost me to buy all the material I needed. So is it possible to buy all the books for your research? Definitely, if you have the money. After all, if you're financially comfortable, $30,000 is not the end of the world, especially since you're not writing many books. You write 3, 4, or 5, maybe 7 books, and the cost would add up to about $100,000 or $200,000, which is comparable to what it took you to get a PhD degree. And I would even say that it would be worth buying all those books and articles from a purely financial point of view. That is, if you didn't have access to your library. But I really think this is not the way to go. It sounds completely counterintuitive to do something like that, unless you're a celebrity who doesn't want to be seen in public and would not be able to sit at the library desk for hours without being disturbed. It seems an absolute no-brainer to use the library, and not just because of the costs, but because university libraries are built for this reason. This is their function. It just seems silly to be buying up all these books to look up a few details and then storing the books forever, unless you treat them as a financial investment. And even if you dislike libraries for whatever reason, you could always hire a graduate student to do this work for you, to go to the library to borrow books, photocopy articles, or to take scans and pictures of the pages you need. It would be more efficient, less costly, and you would be helping someone who needs help. Okay, hope you found this discussion interesting. Let me know what you think, so please write in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.